image like no other, inspiring decades of research and debate. The Shroud of Turin, that's a piece of history, and it has an ongoing puzzle for science.
The Shroud of Turin is a burial cloth that's imprinted with what many believe is the actual image of Jesus after his crucifixion. Now, it's been debated for years, but the shroud is back in the headlines in a major way.
A mystery like no other. The Shroud of Turin has fascinated and perplexed both believers and scientists for decades. This ancient burial cloth, which many consider to bear the image of Jesus Christ after his crucifixion, has sparked countless debates. Now, it's back in the spotlight, raising fresh questions. In a world where faith and science often clash, the Shroud of Turin seems to bridge both realms, offering a glimpse into some of humanity's deepest beliefs. For many Christians, the Shroud of Turin is more than just an artifact. It's thought to be the very cloth that wrapped Jesus Christ after his crucifixion and a powerful symbol of the resurrection. Over the centuries, it has intrigued not just the faithful, but also the scientific community. Researchers have examined it intensely, yet conflicting conclusions have only deepened the mystery, leaving more questions than answers. Recent studies, however, have revealed new findings, both reassuring and unsettling. What does this latest research uncover, and why is it so startling? Let's dive into the enduring mystery of the Shroud of Turin. Past research on the Shroud of Turin. While other ancient burial shrouds, like the one discovered in Scotland dating back thousands of years and showing a deceased person as an Egyptian god, have historical significance, the Shroud of Turin remains uniquely captivating. Some attribute this to the incredible journey the shroud has undergone through history. Others believe it holds the potential to unite science and faith in a way no other artifact can. What was once revered as a holy relic is now scrutinized in laboratories across the globe. Scientists have placed the shroud under microscopes in hopes of uncovering its true origins and the identity of the person it may have covered. Despite some breakthroughs, many studies have contradicted one another, leaving the shroud's secrets shrouded in mystery. All four Gospels mention that Jesus was taken down from the cross, wrapped in linen, and placed in a tomb. With today's advanced research techniques, it seems we're closer than ever to finding answers about this ancient relic. Yet, the results are more puzzling than expected, especially given the unsettling nature of some findings. Still, many believe it was only a matter of time before we began uncovering the truth behind this mystery. The Shroud of Turin Research Project. The investigation into the Shroud of Turin dates back to the 1970s. A dedicated team of American scientists was formed to explore its mysteries. This group, called the Shroud of Turin Research Project, STURP, included experts in physics, radiology, chemistry, and photography. Their mission was groundbreaking. It was the first major scientific analysis of the shroud. While the team didn't definitively identify the man wrapped in the linen, their findings sparked decades of debate about the relic's authenticity. Using a meticulous scientific approach, they had 5 days of unrestricted access to the shroud in Turin, Italy. The researchers brought an array of tools: ultraviolet and infrared photography, X-ray fluorescence, and chemical tests, all aimed at answering one key question. Was the shroud a medieval forgery or a genuine connection to Jesus Christ's burial cloth? The Shroud of Turin is believed by many to be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. But does it truly have such a sacred link? After extensive research, the STURP team found intriguing results, though not conclusive ones. One of their most fascinating discoveries was that the image on the cloth wasn't painted, printed, or drawn. Instead, it appeared to result from an unknown process that caused a faint discoloration on the very surface of the linen fibers. Despite their detailed analysis, the team didn't approach the shroud as a miraculous object, but rather as a mysterious artifact. This scientific mindset, while logical, led them to overlook certain details. For example, although they identified bloodstains on the cloth, they didn't emphasize how closely the wounds matched those described in crucifixion accounts. This omission only deepened the mystery surrounding the shroud, controversies and criticism. The project faced its share of criticism. One of the main points of contention was that the team didn't directly date the fabric. For many, this left the results feeling incomplete and inconclusive, suggesting there was still unfinished business with the Shroud of Turin. Several years later, in 1988, the controversy intensified with a carbon dating test that appeared to resolve the debate. According to the results, the cloth dated to the medieval period, specifically between 1260 and 1390 AD. This seemed to prove that the shroud couldn't be the burial cloth of Jesus, as it originated long after the 1st century crucifixion. However, even this test has sparked further questions, ensuring the mystery of the shroud continues. Asterisk asterisk. The medieval era and the carbon dating test asterisk asterisk. It's believed that Jesus was crucified between 30 and 33 AD, during the height of the Roman Empire. In contrast, the medieval era or Middle Ages began in the 5th century AD, after the fall of the Roman Empire, and continued until the late 15th century. When a carbon dating test placed the Shroud of Turin's origin between 1260 and 1390 AD, it appeared to disprove the idea that this linen cloth was used to wrap Jesus' body after the crucifixion. However, the accuracy of the 1988 carbon dating test was later questioned. In the years following, researchers were unable to fully validate those results, leading to doubts about whether the conclusions were truly reliable. Conflicting theories and new discoveries. As more studies were conducted on the shroud, other researchers examined the cloth. Some aimed to conduct independent investigations, while others sought to confirm the findings of earlier research. With each new analysis, flaws and inconsistencies in the STURP team's original findings began to surface. One notable figure who challenged those findings was Swiss criminologist Max Frey. In 1973, Frey used sticky tape to collect pollen samples from the shroud, hoping to trace its geographical origins. His study revealed something remarkable. He identified pollen from plants native to regions such as Palestine, Turkey, and Europe, with the highest concentration of pollen coming from the Middle East, particularly around Jerusalem. This discovery indicated that the shroud had likely been exposed to air in those areas, suggesting it may have originated from a region consistent with the biblical narrative. The time and place of Jesus' crucifixion. What do you think? Could it be a coincidence that the shroud's potential origins align with the time and location of Jesus' crucifixion? It's worth noting that Max Frey conducted his pollen study before the carbon dating test. His research contradicted some of the findings of the original scientific teams, and the 1988 carbon dating results contradicted Frey's study. This presents us with a dilemma. Should we trust the carbon dating results, or is there more to the shroud's story? Before drawing conclusions, consider the work of chemist Ray Rogers. In 2005, after the initial debates surrounding the shroud had calmed down, Rogers reignited the conversation with a chemical analysis of fibers from the cloth. Many anticipated his findings would confirm the 1988 carbon dating results, but instead, they contradicted them, adding yet another layer to the mystery. *** Rogers. Challenge to the 1988 carbon dating results. ** Rogers publicly stated that the 1988 carbon dating of the Shroud of Turin was flawed. He argued that the sample used for testing was taken from a section of the shroud that had been repaired in the Middle Ages, rather than from the original fabric. According to Rogers, the fibers in this sample contained cotton and had been treated with a dye, which wasn't found in the rest of the shroud. He also identified clear chemical differences between the tested fibers and those from other parts of the cloth. Furthermore, Rogers analysed the rate of vanillin loss in the linen. His tests showed that the original shroud contained no remaining vanillin, indicating that the fabric had deteriorated over an extended period of time. This suggested a significant age gap between the repair fibres and the original material. With these findings, the idea that the Shroud of Turin could date back to the time of Christ gained renewed attention. Asterisk, asterisk. The mystery of the shroud's origins. Asterisk, asterisk. These revelations only add to the enigma surrounding the shroud. How did a portion of it come to be repaired in the first place? And why have so many conflicting opinions and inconclusive research surfaced over the years? To uncover the full history of the Shroud of Turin, we must delve deeper into its mysterious past. The shroud, believed by many to be the burial cloth of Jesus, is approximately 14 feet long and 3 feet 7 inches wide. What sparked its association with Christ were the faint images of a man with sunken eyes and wounds matching those of crucifixion. The shroud shows marks that appear to be from thorns on the man's head and lacerations on his body, all of which correspond to the crucifixion of Jesus. At its core, the shroud is an extraordinary relic, showing the faint image of a crucified man. It seems to tell the story of immense suffering, with the man's face etched with pain and a body measuring around 5 feet 7 inches. This cloth once wrapped his body, but beyond this, the shroud's history becomes even more captivating as we trace its journey through time. Asterisk, asterisk, a mysterious past asterisk asterisk. Evidence suggests that the Shroud of Turin has had a long and mysterious existence, passed down through the centuries. Though the identity of its original owner remains unknown, the first recorded mention of the shroud dates back to 1354. At that time, it was in the possession of a knight named Geoffrey de Charny, who displayed it in a small church in Lari, France. De Charny believed that the shroud was the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. While many were inspired by this relic, viewing it as a symbol of faith, others remained skeptical, questioning whether such an extraordinary object could truly be authentic. Despite the doubts, the shroud continued to inspire devotion across generations. The Shroud of Turin, a unique artifact of history, has experienced a tumultuous journey marked by both reverence and danger. One of its most dramatic moments occurred in 1532 when disaster struck. At that time, the shroud was kept by the House of Savoy in the Chapel of the Holy Shroud in Chambéry, France. On a frigid December night, a fire broke out, putting this sacred relic at risk of destruction. The flames melted the silver reliquary that housed the shroud, and without the quick action of priests, it might have been lost forever. Although they managed to rescue it, the cloth suffered significant damage, featuring holes and burn marks from the molten silver. Following this incident, the shroud mysteriously vanished, leading many to believe it was gone for good. However, it resurfaced in 1534, cared for by the Poor Clare nuns. With great attention, the nuns repaired the shroud using triangular patches of fabric and added a backing cloth for support. Their dedication ensured the relic's preservation, even though the burn marks and patches are still visible today. Remarkably, the faint image of the crucified man on the shroud remained intact, serving as a symbol of resilience for many believers. In 1578, the shroud was transferred to Turin, Italy, where it found a permanent home in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist, earning the name the Shroud of Turin. This linen cloth, believed to bear the image of Jesus Christ, first appeared in Europe in the 14th century and has been housed in the Turin Cathedral since the 1800s. Despite ongoing speculation and scrutiny, it is displayed on special occasions. The Church has shown remarkable openness regarding the shroud's authenticity, allowing scientific investigations into its origins. Over the years, various research efforts have been permitted, from the systematic analysis by the STURP team to chemical tests conducted by Ray Rogers. The Church has managed to balance faith with scientific inquiry, welcoming research while upholding the shroud's significance as a spiritual relic, demonstrating the belief that science and faith can coexist. In 2022, the shroud was brought out for testing once more, 17 years after Ray Rogers' analysis. Although a 1988 study claimed it couldn't be the burial cloth of Jesus, Italian scientist Giulio Fanti conducted new experiments in 2013 using infrared light, Raman spectroscopy, and mechanical tests. His findings suggested the shroud could date from around 280 BC to 220 AD, aligning with the time of Christ. This excited the Church as it supported the idea that the shroud might indeed be the burial cloth of Jesus. Just when it seemed that confirmation was at hand, another scientist, Liberato De Caro, stepped in to conduct his own investigation. Rather than relying on traditional methods like carbon dating or visual analysis, De Caro employed cutting-edge technology, wide-angle X-ray analysis. This innovative approach allowed him and his team to study the fabric of the shroud without causing any damage. By examining the crystalline properties of the linen, they aimed to determine its age. De Caro's findings were remarkable. His research suggested that the shroud could be as much as 2,000 years old, placing its origin during the time of Christ. This directly contradicted the 1988 carbon dating results, which had indicated a medieval origin. Additionally, De Caro's results supported the earlier work of both Ray Rogers and Giulio Fanti. While these results were groundbreaking, critics quickly raised questions about De Caro's methods. They argued that, unlike carbon dating, which requires physical samples from the shroud, X-ray diffraction analysis could risk contamination or misinterpret repairs made over the centuries. Nonetheless, De Caro's research offered renewed hope to those who believe the Shroud of Turin is indeed the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. His non-invasive approach focused on the very essence of the material, sparking a significant debate. Skeptics pointed out the uncertainties regarding the conditions under which the shroud was stored. Despite being one of the most studied artifacts in history, examined by numerous experts, the controversial Shroud of Turin continues to raise questions. Could factors like heat or humidity have influenced the crystalline structure of the linen? Or might the wide-angle X-ray method have limitations when applied to such an ancient relic? There are many questions still to explore, but recent research has brought the shroud closer to reinforcing beliefs about Jesus and his crucifixion. Both believers and skeptics can take a meaningful step in their journey of faith. For believers, De Caro's research carries significant implications. If the Shroud of Turin's age can be confirmed, it reignites hope that it could truly be the burial cloth of Christ. This would create a direct physical connection to one of the most pivotal events in Christian history, the resurrection. It wouldn't just validate the resurrection, it would also reaffirm Christ's power. Many might even come to see the shroud as a source of divine strength. If the hem of Jesus' garment could heal a woman suffering from a long-term ailment, imagine the miracles a bloodied shroud of Jesus could inspire. It could become a center for miracles and wonders, at least for the faithful Dot. For scientists and historians, the shroud presents a fascinating mystery. How has a cloth from the time of Jesus survived for so long, bearing an inexplicable image? Depending on their perspective, it might even attract more people to Christianity. Although De Caro's study didn't provide the conclusive proof many had hoped for, the Church appreciated his efforts. His research challenged existing skepticism and brought them closer to uncovering the truth. What do you think about the Shroud of Turin? Do you believe it is the actual cloth in which Jesus was wrapped in his tomb? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, be sure to click on the next video on your screen. You'll enjoy it.